everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Gift and welcome to Gift and Couture. In today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how I was able to make this wrap dress with gathers, or you can call it overlapping dress. So if this is your first time of coming across my channel, please do well to subscribe, like, share, comment, and to my old subscribers, thank you so much. And if you are new here, you are just seeing my video for the first time, please do well to subscribe because that's the only way you can support me. Without wasting much of our time, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to mark 1 inch. That 1 inch is called top line. And this pattern, we are going to be dividing it into two. That's the front and the back pattern. All right. And what we need here is just the half length. That's from your shoulder to your half length. All right. Okay, so when you are done, go ahead and connect the lines. So the next measurement is to go ahead and mark 1.5 downward. That 1.5 is your shoulder line. The same measurement we use for the front is actually what we are going to use for the back. Like I said, this paper will be divided into two, which is the front and the back pattern. So when you are done, go ahead and connect it. So place your tape rule downward, measure your bust point. That's from the top line downward, measure your bust point and then your half length. For this tutorial, we don't need under bust. All right, so just go ahead and mark your half length. So the front half length is different from the back of half length. All right, so we are going to be connecting the same measurement, both front and the back together. So when you are done, go ahead and mark your bust point and then connect it just like this. And when you are done, go ahead and label it because that's what I did. The first thing is to indicate it there, the shoulder line. Next measurement is the bust point, and then the last measurement is the half length, which is also called the waistline. All right, so let's go to the back now. Go ahead and measure the same 1.5 downward, and from there measure your bust point and then your half length, your back half length. Like I said, the front half length is different from the back half length. All right, I've already done this tutorial when I did my bodice, and the video is on this channel. Okay, so for my back half length is 15.5. okay, so the difference between that front half length and the back half length is what we are going to be using for our side bust. Anyways, I'm still going to show you how it is. Okay, so go ahead and connect that line. So that's your nap to waist, which is also called the back half length. All right, whatever name you choose to call it. So I went ahead to label the bust point, and on that nap to waist I label it nap to waist. Okay, so the next measurement is to go on your shoulder line and divide your shoulder front into two. Remember, the shoulder front is different from the shoulder back. All right, divide your shoulder front into two, and on that top line you are going to mark your neck width. So for this tutorial, since it's overlapping, I went ahead to use 2.7 and then connected the shoulder line slantly. So where you mark that shoulder line, go up by half an inch and connect it. So that half an inch is going to be for your shoulder joining. Now that we are done, we are going to go down by same 2.7 inch to get the neck depth. All right, remember we used 2.7 to get the neck width, and the neck depth is also 2.7. Now to get your armhole measurement, you are going to divide your bust into 6, and whatever you have, add 1.5 to it and then mark it. So for me, I went ahead to do the same thing and then connected the line. Now the line I'm about to draw here is called the across chest. Okay, so for the front is called the across chest, and for the back is called across back. So on that across chest, you are going to put your across chest measurements there. And if you don't know how to measure your across chest, just minus half an inch from your shoulder measurement and put it there. Then connect the line. So on that across chest, you are going to put your bust measurement, divide your bust into 4 and then mark it. Now whatever you have, the distance from that bust measurement to your across chest line, divide it into 4 and go in by like that. So from that shoulder down to your across chest measurement, divide it into 2. On the midpoint, go in by 0.5 and then connect the lines together just like this. You've contoured your armhole line. You can use your freehand or use your French curve All right, so now that you are done, go to your bust line, divide your bust measurement into 4 and then mark it. Then on the waistline, divide your waist measurement into 4 and then mark it. For this tutorial, I won't be needing that, okay? I'm just going to remove the dart like that, and that's it. And if you decide to put that, I don't think it's necessary. Just go ahead and divide your bust span into 2 and then mark it. Then share half an inch on the waistline, connect it to the bust point, and that's it. Now the reason I actually use the bust span is for me to know where the side bust is going to be. So I divided my bust span into 2, mark it on the bust line and on the waistline, then connected the lines. So go ahead and do the same thing. Like I said, the difference between the waistline, the half length of the front and the back, that's what you are going to be using for your side bust. It can be 1, it can be 2, yours can be 3, depending on how busty you are and how small your bust is. Okay, so if you don't know how to take that measurement, you can drop a comment in the comment section and let me know. So just like that, we are done. Next thing is to go ahead and add your seam allowance. All right, go ahead and mark 1.5 or 1 inch, depending on how you want it. Just like this, we are done. On the armhole side, you can go ahead and add half an inch on the armhole side. Okay, so now that we are done with the front, let's go to the back. On the back, go on the shoulder line just like the way we did. Divide your shoulder back into 2 and then connect it just like the way we used 2.7 for the neck width. I went ahead to mark the same 2.7 and then connected the neck depth to it. For the neck depth, I used 1.5 and that's it. Next thing, go ahead and connect your shoulder slope, and then when you connect it, go ahead and mark half an inch and then connect it just like that. That half an inch, remember, is for your shoulder joining. All right, so next thing is to go ahead and divide your bust into 6, add 1.5 to it just like the way we did for the front, and then connect it just like that. That's from your shoulder. So on that across back, go ahead and put your across back measurement, connect it to the shoulder just like the way we did for the front, and then on that across back measurement, divide your bust into 4. So whatever it is, mark it there. Then put your tape on that angle, whatever it is. Now you're going to divide it into 2. That's from your across back measurement to your bust measurement, divide it into 2. Remember, for the front, you divide it into 4. So when you are done, go ahead and connect it. Then on the bust point, divide your bust measurement into 4, and on the waistline, for the waistline, remember that 2 inches is cancelled, and that's what we use for the side bust. All right, so on the waist, so for this tutorial, you don't need zip. So since even though we don't need zip, but we are still going to remove the back dart for the back to relax a bit. Okay, so I went ahead to minus 0.7. I can either use 1 inch or 0.7. For me, I use 1 inch. Away from that 0.7, do not include it. Okay, go ahead and divide your waist measurement into 4 and then mark it on that line. So when you are done, connect it to the bust line, and then go ahead and add your seam allowance. All right, so just like this, we are done cutting the back and the front. On the armhole side, you are going to go ahead and add half an inch for the sleeve joining. So I'll go ahead and cut it out just like this, and then when we are done, we are going to gum the front together. We are going to replicate the front just like this. I went ahead to replicate the front. Okay, so just what you are seeing on the screen, I'm going to use my masking tape to just gum it together. None of this is going to climb on each other, right? I'm just going to use that masking tape, or in order to avoid this stress, just fold, when you are drafting, just fold the paper into 2, so that when you finish cutting, you have 1 without joining. Okay, so just like this, we are going to go ahead and cut out the overlap. So from the center front, I went ahead to mark 5.5, even though I later increase it, which I'm still going to show you. Just like that, you're going to go ahead and connect it. Now when it comes to overlapping is just like cutting a v-neck, and it depends on how you want it. For me, I want the length to be the length of the neck to stop at 8 inches. So if you don't want it to be that deep, you can stop at 6 or 5.5. So go ahead and connect this from your neckline to where we marked that 5.5. So just like this, we are done. So I realized that the line did not connect to where I marked the 8.5, so I went ahead to connect it, and that was it. So just like this, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Go ahead and do the same thing. So in order for your overlapping to fit in without having excess on the bust area, you're going to go to the bust point and connect the lines just like what you're going to be seeing on the screen. All right, connect that line, and on that bust point line, you're going to go up by half an inch and come down by half an inch. That means you are taking, you can either use 0.3 or 0.5. Okay, so that measurement. So when you are done, go ahead and connect it to your bust span just like this. With this, when you finish sewing your overlapping, it will lay flat, like the bust area, okay, will fit in without having excess on the side. So just like this, we are done, and I'm going to go ahead and use my masking tape to close it. Okay, go ahead and do the same thing as well. So I'm done closing it, and I noticed that it has excess, so I went ahead to correct it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and on the lower part we are still going to reduce it, because if you don't do it, honestly, your overlapping will not fit in. On this sharp area, we are going to go up by 1 inch and reduce it. Okay, just follow this method and you will like it. All right, so when you are done, go ahead and connect it to the midpoint. Okay, so when you're done like this, just go ahead and cut it out, and that's what exactly I'm going to do. Just like this, we are done cutting out. Don't worry about the center, the middle point that is puffy. So I went ahead to put the back and the front together in order to align the shoulder. Normally, you know, the back shoulder is always more than the front, so I actually did that to align the neckline together, and that was it. So I went ahead to cut it for the back. I added half an inch for just joining. Like I said, there is no zipper, so just go ahead and cut it out and add your half an inch instead of the zipper, just for it to lay properly. So this is when I was cutting the front, and when I was cutting the front, I didn't want something that would be too open on my chest, and I decided to add increase it to the front, okay, of which I'm still going to show you. Okay, so if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please, I'm begging you, do well to subscribe, support me, all right, because this is the only way you can do it. By this, YouTube will be able to push this video to more audience. All right, so just like this, I've gone ahead to connect it. So instead of using 5.5, I use 6.5. okay, that's from the center front to where I added the extra inches. Okay, so go ahead and add your joining allowance, and that was it. And that's exactly what I did. I went ahead to notch the bust area. Go ahead and do the same thing as well, and also make sure you notch the center, the joining. All right, go ahead and do the same thing so that you'll be able to know how open the chest would be. Okay, now I've gone ahead to cut it out, and I went ahead to check it out to see how it's going to be. And you know, after you finish sewing the side, that is still going to expand, so this neck is perfectly okay. So the next measurement is to cut the skirt, that's the lower part. So you'll be needing this waist measurement. All right, so go ahead and take the waist measurement of the upper part, and then let's go ahead and cut the lower part. So fold your fabric into two. For this story, I'll be needing the skirt length to be like 40. Okay, that 40, and where I want the normal skirt, aside from the gathers, to be, I want it to stop at 27. Okay, but if you want your own to be a little shorter, you can reduce it. So I actually went ahead to cut the length to be 27. So 27 minus 40, the remaining one is going to be 13. Okay, so that 13 is what I'm going to be using for the gathers. So I went ahead to number it, and that was what I got. That's 13. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut it. Fold your fabric into two, then measure the length of your skirt, which is 27 like I said, and then that's your waist. Then on the waistline, go ahead and divide your waist into four, and then mark it. Add your seam allowance 1.5, that's what I use. From that waist, extend your measurement downward and mark 8 inches. That 8 inches is your hip length. Okay, so on that hip length, go ahead and divide your hip measurement into four, and then mark it. Go ahead and add your seam allowance. For this tutorial, I don't want it to be too fitted. Okay, so the same measurement I have on the hip line, I extended it downward and added only 1 inch. Okay, and instead of using 11.5 that I have on the hip line, I used 12.5 and then went ahead to connect it. So if you want your one to be a little firm on you can go ahead and reduce it. So the next thing I did was to go ahead and connect it, and that was what I did. After that, I went ahead to cut it. Okay, there is no need to pencil based on how the style is. So now for the front, I went ahead to place it to cut the back. And for this tutorial, like I said, there is no zip allowance, there is no zip. So I went ahead to remove is the same 0.7 that I removed for the front, that's the zipper line, and from there I went ahead to mark half an inch for the back joining, since we won't be putting zipper. Okay, go ahead and mark the same thing downward, and then go ahead and cut. So because I want the bum area, I want to contour it. Okay, from the hip line I went ahead, the zipper line, like the joining line, so mark 5.5 downward, and then on the lower part you are going to minus 1.5 or 2 inches. Like I said, it's not a pencil skirt. Okay, it's just like a free skirt. Okay, because it's the same hip measurement I use. Then go ahead and connect it to where you mark your 5.5, and then connect it just like that. So just like this, you are done cutting. So now for the front, I've gone ahead to replicate the front, because in case you have enough pattern paper, you can use your pattern paper in order to avoid wasting of fabric. Okay, and then now I've gone ahead to mark the center front of this. Like I said, I replicated the front, so we have like two. And another thing, I went ahead to put the upper part to align in order for me to get the measurement. Like I said, put it on the waistline, mark it. Now to get the shape, go ahead and connect it based on the style. Just like this, I've already gone ahead to do it because I only have one phone. So I've gone ahead to connect this shape. You can follow how, you can see how it looks. Okay, now this shape depends on the style. Okay, based on the style, this was what I got. Okay, so I've gone ahead to mark it like this. That means you can see how it looks. Okay, so just like this, align it together. So the next thing I did, I went ahead to measure, take the measurement from the side to where I wanted it to be. When I looked at this style, I realized it's a bit longer than what I drew before, and then I went ahead to extend it to 22. So that's from my waist to down to my knee. Okay, even before my knee, that's where I used 22 for, and I went ahead to connect it just like what you're seeing on the screen, and I made sure it's aligned with the waist. So next thing is to go ahead and cut it out. Remember, we are cutting only one of the front. Okay, remember I said I replicated the front into two, and just like this, we've cut out one. So this one is the one that is going to be on, like it's going to overlap. Okay, now this is the second one. The second one, I also went ahead to cross check the measurement and then mark it. Go ahead and do the same thing as well. And the down part, I went ahead to shape it to meet, to connect with the waist line. Okay, so from the middle point I use 6 inches. So if you want your own to go a little bit higher, you can extend it to 8 or probably 9 depending on how you want it. So just like this, I've gone ahead to connect it, and when I place it, this was what I got. So actually imagine how it's going to look like. Now, like I said, if you want your own to go like the slit to go up, okay, you can go ahead and extend it upward. So next thing I did was to go ahead and cut it out. All right, so just like this, we are done cutting it. Even without the gathers, when I wore it, okay, it was looking beautiful, though I didn't record it. So just like this, we are done cutting, and this is the back. Since I've already cut it out, I noticed that one side, like this very side, this back is going to be longer. So I decided to cross check it, put it together. I put the other side on this other side. Go ahead and do the same thing, or you can even go ahead and sew it before putting them together, right? And after aligning them, I decided to trim off that side. So go ahead and do the same thing as well, okay? If you notice any difference like this, just go ahead and trim it and let it align, okay? So thank you so much. Again, please subscribe, okay? If you watch this video to this point, go ahead and like, share this video with your friends, comment, and most importantly, please do well to subscribe. So next thing I did, I cut it out. So now that we are done cutting out, let's go ahead and do the sewing. So where you sew, marked your half, okay, go ahead and sew it downward. So I've gone ahead to sew it. You can see the bum area, how it is because we've contoured it. Okay, just like that, we are done sewing the back. So for the front, go ahead and sew the front as well. So join this side to this side and this the other side to other side. Okay, just go ahead and sew it. Then the upper part, go ahead and join the shoulder. When you are done joining the shoulder, let's go ahead and sew the side bust and also the seam allowance. So I went ahead to place this pattern paper. Go ahead and do the same thing, notch the side bust. There's a technique to sewing this side bust. Let's assume your measurement is 7 inches. Instead of sewing 7 inches, you are going to sew 6 inches. For me, from the seam allowance to my bust span is 6.5. So instead of sewing that 6.5, I'll go ahead and sew 5.5. That means you have to sew before your bust span, okay? And when you sew it, you are going to iron it downward, okay? So let's go ahead and sew it. So I've gone ahead to sew it. So I'll be using bias, okay? You can either use lining or bias depending on how you want it. So for me, you know, the bias is always folded on both sides. So I went ahead to trim off one side because this is how I like using my bias. It will make the sewing to be tiny instead of being flat like big the way it is. I hope you understand. So you can do this, it depends on you, but this is how I do mine. Go ahead and trim it. When you trim it, so the folding is now going to be on one side, okay? So now how you are going to sew it, where you trim off is where you are going to start sewing, and when you finish sewing that side, you can now turn it to where the other folding is and then sew it. So I've gone ahead to sew it. You can, if you notice, it's not really big. And next thing is to go ahead and join the sides. Go ahead and do the same thing, and when you are joining, make sure the dart is laid properly. Let it be downward, not upward. So just like this, I've gone ahead to iron it, and if you like, you can cut your lining instead of using bias. So go ahead and do the same thing. So for the side where the hole is going to, since it's a wrap, okay, you are going to leave like 1.5 inches or 2 inches on this side depending on how the style is. Okay, leave it depending on how you want your wrap to be. Okay, just leave it like that. So now I've gone ahead to sew it. Now it's time to join the upper part with the lower part. Go ahead and join it together. Let it align. Sew on this side and sew on the other side. So when you are done, I've gone ahead to cut the fabric that I'll be using for the gathers, okay? And the length, just like this, is folded into 4, and what I got is 32.5. okay? That 32.5 times 4, that's the total of what I got, okay? So and the length of what I'm using is 14 inches. So I'll be using half an inch for the joining, and I'll fold half an inch, okay, for the lower part. or you can go ahead and weave it if you want. So on this side, on the breadth area, you are going to go ahead and sew it, and when you are done, go ahead and draw gathers. Okay, so this was what I did. I went ahead to draw the gathers and I started pulling it. So you have to double the stitches if you want your gathers to be secured when you are drawing it. Okay, go ahead and do the same thing, even though I used one, but I was careful enough to get to the end. So go ahead and draw the gathers, and when you are drawing the gathers, just be careful, because when it comes to gathering this stuff, if you mistakenly allow the thread to cut, you are going to start all over again. Okay, so in order to avoid the stress of gathering all over, I went ahead to take the measurement of where I want the wrap to be. So, and that was what I did. I went ahead to take that measurement, and that was it. Remember, where you are placing the gathers, you're not going to place it all around. There's a specific place that you want it to be, and it all depends on the style and on you. Okay, so I went ahead to fix it, and that was it. Okay, so for the inner, I notch where the gathers is going to stop, because it's not possible for the gathers to go round. Okay, so just look for a particular place and notch, and that was what I did. So when you are done, let's go ahead and cut the belt. So here I've already gone ahead to cut the belt. So when you want to cut the belt, one belt has to be longer. So for this one, because this one that is longer is where it's going to pass through, this one is 34 and the shorter one is 21. Okay, so do not cut it to be equal. You can cut it depending on how you want it and depending on how your fabric is. Then go ahead and stitch it on the fabric on your dress. Okay, so that's it. That's what I did. And when you're done, go ahead and weave your clothes. And for the sleeves, I actually did that off the camera. Please, I've already done just the basic sleeves. Okay, don't worry, my next tutorial I might decide to film a tutorial on how to cut the basic sleeves, and that was it. So if you've watched these videos to this point, do well to subscribe, like, share, comment, and you know now I went ahead to slay it, and period. So thank you so much for watching. God bless you. Make sure you subscribe. Bye.